Thank you for joining me today for Lesson 1 of Machine Sewing for Beginners. You can learn about basic sewing tools and the main parts of the sewing machine in my Sewing Basics videos, and I recommend watching those first. For this lesson, you will be sewing in a straight line with your sewing machine. To practice this, you will need an unthreaded sewing machine and several copies of the Lesson 1 paper practice sheet. The practice sheets for this series can be purchased and downloaded online from the Calico Jam shop, or you can make your own. For a link to the shop, please see the video description. I will be using a FAF Select 3.0 sewing machine in my video, but you can easily follow along with any other brand of sewing machine. We will begin our sewing practice without thread to prevent the possibility of jamming the machine, which is when the threads get tangled up and the machine stops sewing. I will point out 3 main tips to avoid this problem, and we will practice them while we are sewing without thread, so by the time you are ready to thread your machine, you will be far less likely to have trouble. The first tip is to only turn the hand wheel toward you. Turning it in the opposite direction can cause your machine to get jammed. With your sewing machine off, let's practice that now. Turn your hand wheel so the top of the wheel is moving toward you. Get a feel for this proper direction. You will notice as you turn the hand wheel that the needle is moving up and down, and the feed dogs, which move the fabric through the sewing machine, are moving as well. You can actually sew this way by just turning the hand wheel, and I do when I need to go very slowly. You will also notice the thread take-up lever moving up and down, which brings us to the second tip to prevent a machine jam. When you are finished with a line of stitching and are ready to take your project out of the machine, you must make sure your thread take-up lever is at the top. When it is at its highest position like this, it has finished making a stitch. If it is anywhere else, it is still working on a stitch. So be sure when you are ready to remove your project, the thread take-up lever is at the top. The last tip to prevent jamming your machine is to be sure you have fabric underneath and the presser foot down before you sew. If my machine were threaded right now and I pressed the foot pedal down without having fabric or paper under the presser foot, I would most likely jam the machine. But our machines are unthreaded, so we cannot jam them. So let's use this time to practice with the foot pedal. Be sure to keep your fingers out of the presser foot area and never place them on top of or underneath the presser foot. Turn on your sewing machine. My power is on the right side, but yours may be in another location. Using the foot pedal is like driving a car. The harder you push, the faster you go. Press down gently with your foot on the pedal and try to control your speed to make the needle go up and down slowly. Practice until you feel comfortable with this, and then we will move on to the practice sheet for Lesson 1. Place the practice paper under the presser foot and turn the hand wheel toward you to put the needle down into the top of the first line. Now, gently lower your presser foot with the presser foot lever, which is on the inside of my sewing machine, but is often found on the back of other sewing machine brands. Press gently on the foot pedal to begin sewing forward. Notice how the sewing machine is pulling the paper through for you. Try to avoid pushing, pulling, or pressing down firmly on the paper so the feed dogs are able to pull the paper through at the proper pace. Your job is to steer the paper to keep the needle sewing right down the line. you will notice that there is a mark or slit in the center of the presser foot. I am lining that mark up with the line on the paper. I keep watching this location right in front of the presser foot to make sure I am sewing on the line. If I sew off of the line a little bit, I can gently correct by turning the paper slightly in the direction I need to sew. When I am back on the line, I straighten the paper out again and keep sewing. When you get close to the end of the line, take your foot off of the foot pedal and sew very slowly here by using just the hand wheel, so you can stop at the very end of the line. Remember to turn the hand wheel in the proper direction, so the top of the wheel is moving toward you, and finish the last few stitches like this by hand. Before removing the paper, put the thread take-up lever at the top so the last stitch the machine is making is completed. Now lift up the presser foot with the lever and remove your paper. Repeat this same process for each line on the paper, practicing your straight sewing and the 3 tips for preventing a sewing machine jam. On each line, remember to only turn the hand wheel toward you. Make sure your thread take-up lever is at the top before removing your paper at the end of each line, and be sure you have fabric, in this case paper, underneath and the presser foot down before you begin sewing. Keep practicing until you are able to complete 1 sheet of great-looking straight line stitching. The stitching should be right on top of the black lines on your practice paper, and the needle holes in each line should be evenly spaced. Don't feel discouraged if it is difficult at first. Most new sewers practice several pages of the straight lines before mastering it. If you are in a class, be sure to put your name on your best paper and turn it in to your instructor. Then join me next time for Lesson 2, the back stitch.